Hey everyone, so One Piece Chapter 1019 just came out a few days ago. Normally I talk about it right away when it comes out, but this time I had to focus on the Reverie, which, if you didn't get to catch that, it was a 10-hour stream that we did this Saturday with a ton of other One Piece YouTubers. I think most of the other major One Piece YouTubers in the community. I thought it was a pretty good stream. I think a lot of people really enjoyed that stream. So if you didn't get a chance, then definitely check it out. I'll be doing a shorter stream probably tonight at around 8:30 p.m. EST, just going over it and talking about this chapter a little more in depth and what I expect of the future fights. Also, before we get into this chapter, I want to shout out this guy again, the little Morge plush. You can still get yours, but now there's only 11 days left to get yours. So guys, this is limited edition, so we were not making any more. After these 11 days, there's no more. So if you want to support this channel, if you want to help me keep making videos, then I encourage you to click that link below and grab yourself a Morge plush. Also, if we hit, let's say 200 sold in those 11 days, I'll be doing a Marineford analysis video, which is probably the biggest analysis video that I've been talking up for a while. It's easily the biggest analysis video that I've basically got in my vault of analysis videos to be made. I think I'm looking for an excuse to finally get to making that one and finishing that one. So if we get to 200 of these sold within 11 days, then I will be doing the Marineford analysis video right around the corner. So with that being said, let's get into the chapter. This chapter, I think, was the most enjoyable fight for me out of the three fights, if we want to say, of the Tobiroppo so far. Who's fight versus Jinbei was pretty good. Before we get into Franky versus Sasaki, let's briefly talk about what the Sanji versus Queen fight is looking like. I like the fact that we are getting a little more in-depth into what Queen can actually do with his cyborg, not exactly cyborg abilities. Is Queen a cyborg? Do we call Queen a cyborg? You guys know what I'm saying, right? Queen's technological enhancements, etc. I guess you would call Queen a cyborg. So Queen can do rapid-fire lasers, which it sounds like is not something that is common. I suppose even between Franky and the Pacifista, I suppose they don't do exactly rapid-fire lasers. I do feel like we got to see the Pacifista do something like that, though, during Subodiac Archipelago arc, especially when the Strats kind of made the Pacifista go a little crazy, kind of making it malfunction after Nami and Robin got their attacks in on the Pacifista during the team battle, right? We started to see the Pacifista go a little off the rails and start shooting a lot of lasers. So I wonder if there's a bit more of an explanation of what Sanji means by, oh, Queen, you can fire your lasers over and over and over again. So hopefully a little more explanation of that. Also, I think this chapter in general was a reminder of how strong Kizaru is in general, right? Because we saw how dangerous these lasers are, right? Both at the beginning of the chapter with the fact that Queen can rapid fire, and at the end of the chapter with the Radical Beam seemingly, possibly taking Sasaki out for the count. So considering that these lasers are all based off of Kizaru's abilities, just serves as a little reminder of just how dangerous the dude is who can do these things casually, and it's just one part of a myriad of other abilities that he has, right? Like, they're recreating the fact that they can recreate Kizaru's laser at all makes for like such a dangerous ability for these cyborgs, right? But Kizaru can just do these freely all the time, casually, like from the tip of his finger. So just something, a little reminder for us not to underestimate guys like Kizaru who are on the world government side. So I don't know why I'm going so far down that little route, but that's just what I was thinking of seeing all of this laser action this chapter. So Sanji versus Queen, it looks like, I don't know if we're going to get to that right next after this one. I assume we're going to go through the rest of the Tobiroppo first, so probably like the Black Maria battle first, and then get around to Sanji versus Queen, and maybe even Zoro versus King, considering Zoro seems like he's about to be back in action. But that's not the main focus of this chapter, is it? Franky versus Sasaki. So, I don't know why this is, but Franky always seems to get these really just weird opponents. So Franky versus Nero, for example, that also, even Nero wasn't that weird of an opponent for Franky to fight. But I remember throughout that battle, they're both constantly confused by the other person. I think that might be like a bit of a trend in Franky's fights, where Franky is confused by the other character, what the other character can do, and the other character is confused by Franky because he just gets such oddball matchups. I think we saw the same thing with Senor Pink. Franky confused about Senor Pink swimming and such. Fukuro confused about how Franky's body works with swapping of, tea, cola, etc. It's just the way that Franky, I guess, it's just what he lends himself to. But I really like to see that we got that running trend again here with Sasaki basically turning into a flying type dinosaur, I suppose, even though it makes no sense. But I do like the fact that Sasaki shows us a little bit of variety, because I think with these dinosaur types, right, like, so with all of these zones, a bit of a concern, I guess, towards the beginning was basically how do you sort of get unique fights and unique matchups out of these guys, considering that they're all of their abilities are basically just like bulking themselves up and making themselves stronger, right? But no, that's not what we've seen. We've seen that they all have somewhat unique fighting styles. So I'd say Ulti seems very fast, obviously relies on headbutts, and she has her club. But then Sasaki can fly, and he's a swordsman, and he's a tank, which is just a really unique combination of characteristics, right? And then Who's Who, obviously, I think I don't really need to go in depth. Like, he's got a full 6 styles, Rokushiki fighting style, to complement his zone abilities. So, not to mention the fangs and everything like that, right? So his own twist on top of that on the Rokushiki fighting style. So I think so far, all of the Tobiroppo fights, I've liked seeing the fact that they all have their own unique aspects to go along with the fact that they're zones. Even Queen, for example, the cyborg aspect to go along with Queen. King, I'm really looking forward to, because King, we know that is a member of a very rare and very special species, so I would expect that King's abilities, I don't know if it's going to play into the fire type thing that he's got going on or whatever, or if it's going to play more so into some found aspect of whatever species that he is that has not been commented or touched upon so far, but I expect something unique for King as well. So, all that being said, I think that matchup-wise, this made for an entertaining matchup for Franky. It wasn't just like a bruiser fighting a bruiser. They both have a bit of variety of their abilities. I did also like the fact that with Franky, we got to see most of his arsenal in action this chapter. So, his sword, right? His rocket launchers, his Gaion cannon, and his radical beam. And I especially like the way that the match ended. I have my own opinions on if any of these Tobiroppo fights are actually done. I think, I won't lie guys, I was like a little worried after last chapter with the fact that, you know, it seemed like, okay, Ulti might be down, Jinbei might be down, oh sorry, not Jinbei, other one, Who's Who. Ulti might be down, Who's Who might be down, and, you know, I was just thinking, are we actually getting through to the end of all of the Tobiroppo fights? I'm not so sure. I don't know how you guys feel, but let me know in the comments below. Do you guys think that the Tobiroppo are actually down? Because I thought that, you know, maybe if this fight picked up, right? If this chapter 1019 picked up from the end of last chapter with Jinbei supposedly getting in a final hit on Who's Who, and it basically showed Who's Who officially defeated, Jinbei walking away, etc. Maybe a little text box like we got back in Alabasta of winner, Jinbei, etc. Then I'd probably be abandoning this raid fail theory, but I don't know. To me, maybe I'll drop a video on this towards the end of the week since we don't have a chapter this week, I'm pretty sure. But I just don't know if... Are you guys sold? Is this... Do we feel like this is the end of their fights? Is this all the Strides kind of get? It seems fairly easy for a, you know, Yonko's top brass, basically, and we're not really getting much of a story to any of these fights either. We got some good gags out of Franky's fight, but... I think if you compare it to Franky... Well, okay, I'm not going to get too in-depth into this. I'll save this stuff for another video. But I don't think that... I just did not get the feeling that this is necessarily the end of the fight or that the Tobiroppo are down. It did not feel that way, at least compared to past fights that we've seen, that when the Straughts all get 1v1s. I might be completely wrong, and maybe Oda's cutting down a little bit of that, you know, a little bit of that aftermath just to save panel time, okay? I did like aspects of the fight a lot. I liked the variety that we saw in both abilities. I liked the moments of comedy with Franky realizing that he's not good at fighting with a sword. Sasaki having, I guess, a cute moment of when he backs up with his ability so he can use it not just to fly, but to accelerate forward and backwards. So when Sasaki backs up and then reveals that that was his little ploy all along. So I liked a lot of the moments of this fight, and I think my favorite moment was definitely the final blow that Franky landed, which was getting out from the Shogun and then using his radical beam to finish the fight off, right? Supposedly. Because I think, you know, that's not something we've never seen before in other series or anything like that, but I tend to like it when a fight where somebody who's in a sort of armor or suit or something like that, the battle ends with like that huge mech form basically being defeated, but the character, the protagonist or whatever, having already gotten out and be able to land the final blow from outside with their own method, like with their raw base abilities or something like that, right? So we got a bit of the Franky Shogun battle for the most part of it, but then we also got Franky himself landing the finishing blow for the final part of it, so a bit of best of both worlds. Unless, of course, the fight is not over, as I believe. But I like this fight, I think, the most out of the ones we've gotten so far, because I think the Who's Who versus Jinbei fight, what I enjoyed about it was largely from Who's Who's end in terms of the variety that he was showing. This Frankie versus Sasaki fight, I think I enjoyed a bit more just because we got some crazy stuff on both characters' sides. So, all that being said, Yamato versus Kaido. I have no good theories on what Yamato's devil fruit is, just because I'm not well versed in Japanese lore. I've heard Kirin thrown around, but I don't really know what that is. But I thought it was going to be a white tiger. That's all I've got. So, I guess we'll find out next week, right? If you enjoyed this video, then definitely like, comment, and subscribe. And again, you can get your Morge plush in the link below. If we hit 200, Marineford analysis coming up. Talk to you all later.